Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight. What do I mean by that? I mean, I only talk to transportation professionals on this show or in my twice-a-week long-form podcast because, frankly, I only want to talk to the right people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so we can put the right information out there that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business, in your life. It's one of the many reasons why I probably fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Today's Friday. It's a solo show. We are doing Q&A. All right. Every single Friday, you guys, is transportation, sales, and operations questions and answers show, Q&A show, you guys. So drop your comments or drop your questions in the chat, whether you're watching over on YouTube, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, whether you're watching on Twitter, drop those comments in the chat and I will answer them live on the show. Whatever it is, well, I can't say whatever, regarding transportation, please. Let's try and keep it on topic on that. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, you guys drop them in the chat for sales or operations related. And that's what the show is here for, you guys. We're here to help in any way, shape, or form. I got a couple of questions to start with that I got DM'd throughout the week. But yeah, let's definitely do it. But before we get any further, as always, you guys, I got a good shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And the best part, you get paid to move these trailers. You get paid to move these on top of the revenue that you can get. So, like, think about this. If you're a trucking company and you've been bobtailing back empty, and because you got your dedicated customer or whatever that drop trailer, however that looks, you can jump on VHub and grab one of the trailers on there. The ones that we talk about on the show here are just a few of the absolute many that they have available on there. Or if you're a broker, same thing. You got to get creative, right? You got to think of ways outside of the box to help your customers out. So with what they're working on right now, you guys, they have Dallas, Texas to Long Sault, Ontario, and you get $750 US to move that. They have West Valley City, Utah, going up to Calgary, Alberta, and you get $1,550 to do that. And now they have like 150 of these trailers left because they're starting to fly out of Paragould, Arkansas. You guys needing to get up to Mississauga, Ontario. You get 1,000 Canadian to do that. Now with this one, you guys, this is where you can create a drop trailer pool at a shipper of yours, because it doesn't just have to pick up out of Paragould. You can go down to Memphis, you can go over to Nashville, Louisville, whatever that looks like, and stage some of these trailers there. It just has to make it up into the Mississauga area in the allotment time. And then they also have a bunch of trailers out of San Diego. And now this one is starting to go. These ones are starting to go quick. They had like up over 300 at the beginning of this week. They're already down into the low 200s available out of San Diego, going to various locations out there, you guys. They got San Diego to Houston going for $800, Springdale, Arkansas for $1,200, a bunch of them into the Chicagoland area for about $900. And yeah, you guys, so they're going quick. So get them up, vhubapp.com. Stacey Steen's already in the audience, you guys. Hit her up, hit up Zach Lonergan, and do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. All right, comments, chat's blowing up already. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning, freight enthusiast. Let's go, orange shirt gang. Josh Hempstead, what's up, my dude? Good to see you. He said, I appreciate that. He says it's his favorite morning show. Nydia, good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in. Alexis Bailey, watching over on YouTube. Good morning to you as well. Tono Lippy, you bet your ass it's Friday. Let's go, freight enthusiast. Thanks for tuning in, man. Tracy St. Clair, watching over on YouTube. Good morning to you as well. Cole Mikulik, what is up, my dude? It is another great week in trucking, man. Flo, good morning. Stacy Steen, good morning. Happy Friday. And all right, we already got a couple of questions rolling through the chat here, you guys. So yes, if you're just tuning in for the first time, if you're just catching up on this, you guys, transportation related Q&A show, sales and operations, every single Friday, and we're going to jump into them. I had a couple of them reached out via DM. So I want to answer them first. And then it is the first one is like, what does the perfect utopia of shipping look like? And this is there's like multiple different ways of going about this. Is it, more contract? Is it more spot? Is it, having a core carrier base on your freight? And kind of like, how does this all come together? And then they also had a, sorry, I just saw a new chat that came threw me off completely. And, for me personally, like the perfect utopia, like obviously I don't hide any of my, strategies, right, of what I'm doing, because I'm all about the niche. I'm all about niche region, niche freight type, and building up from there. And I personally think like the perfect utopia when building up a customer is it's like I do it like this. Obviously I start off with a cold call or a cold email. I'm trying to get their attention. Then that transitions into I'm getting them on the phone and we're talking. And most importantly, I have all the difficult conversations up front, right? Like, because I know for a fact not everything's going to go perfect every single time. So I'm talking to them about after hours contacts. I'm talking to them about who do I reach out to in the event there's an issue? Do you want me calling your receivers? How do you want to handle those? And, and I go pretty in depth on that. And, and then a lot of it boils down to, I want to know how my customer wants to be communicated with. Like for me, an SOP, which standard operating procedure inside of my brokerage, every single shipment I move, every single one of them, does not matter if it's the customer that I move one shipment a month with or the ones that I move shipments every single day with. They are notified every single time a driver is emptying en route to the shipper. They are notified every single time the driver arrives to the shipper. They are notified when the driver departs the shipper. The same thing is held at the receiver as well. They get pictures. They get all of that stuff in there. Most of your customers appreciate that because they should never have to reach out to you. Like I talk to shippers all the time outside of my brokerage. Like fortunately, I got a lot of friends that are shippers. Communication is literally the most important piece of this, and your shipper should never have to reach out to you. And now when you're building that up, it's the same thing on the carrier side as well, where you have to be proactively communicating with them. And I know this is easier said than done in every scenario here. But again, I want my carriers to know like, hey, this is my communication style. This is what's required when we're working together. But that also comes with me not blowing up their phone, right? Because I think most drivers out there, they will go on tracking, but what they won't do is deal with you calling them 17 times in transit when it clearly states on the tracking where they are in those moments. And I think having these upfront conversations, right, that creates that kind of perfect utopia out there, because I want to build a consistent carrier base, right? I want carriers who move the lanes that my customers ship, as opposed to me finding a carrier and hoping that they'll do a load for me, right? And again, I know this is all easier said than done, but I think that this leads to that win-win-win environment, right? Because I don't want to utilize load boards all the time. I know that they're a crutch, but I want to keep my customers' freight and my carriers off of the load board. I don't ever want to have to utilize that for anything, especially as I'm building up a new partnership where, there's a lot of tools out there, you guys, where you don't need to go out there and post your freight. You can find which carriers are moving this, but it takes, again, it's that effort, right? Because it's easier to post a load. It's easier to post a load and let inbound calls come into you. But taking that and running with it and making those outbound calls and building that up is going to lead to long-term success with your customers. And then also they had a second question that came through that I wanted to answer is about the risks of a consistent carrier base, because the question reads, I hear you talk about building a carrier base all the time. Is there a risk of them bypassing you to go direct to your customer? And yes, there is always an inherent risk with doing that, but I've dealt with that in the past. And my customers, again, when you're building up that relationship with them, they'll always tell them, hey, if you want our freight, you got to go through Chris, right? And then at that time, that's a conversation that you have to have with that carrier. Like, hey, you've been doing a great job. I want to continue to work with you, but I can't have you back soliciting me. I can't have you going directly into my shippers. And then if it happens again, we'll pull them off the lane. But I would say 9.9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen with your core carrier base as you're building it up, because I've had specific in-depth conversations with carriers in the past that I've worked with, and they were set up with all the shippers that I was set up. Because again, I'm very regionally focused on a lot of my freight, right? Like I'm not calling fucking people all over the place for the sake of calling them. I'm hyper focused in there. And and a lot of the carriers know the freight that's moving because they're local. And the best part is a lot of them are like, hey, we can actually get more money through you than we could through directly going through them. So there is that give and that take that's with it. But again, there's going to be a risk of it happening all the time. But I have found an overwhelmingly higher level of success by building up that core carrier base and from the carrier standpoint and the customer standpoint. And it's been mutually beneficial overall, because I really, again, like I talk about, I really don't play the rate game, right? Like I really don't play the back and forth. When it comes down to it, I want a carrier to have a price that they need that's going to work for them, as opposed to what's going to work best for me in that moment. Because I'm not thinking about today per se. I'm thinking about how do I keep revenue sustained and coming consistently over the next 12 months. So that was those first couple of questions that came through on the DMs, and I wanted to get those answered before I took any from the call. Christine Kyle, good morning from Mississippi. Thanks for tuning in there. This was the comment that I lost my shit on laughing about. The bright white lighting coupled with the orange shirt is giving me creamsicle cravings. Fuck me. Still gets me laughing. I don't know, Tony. It might have been the guy that I know that always needs drayage, and he may be a top 5 shipper in Northern Indiana. That could be who it is. Josh Hempstead has a question. As our fleet grows, how do you recommend working with brokers and negotiating lanes with them? Josh, this is a good question, because coming from your side, as a fleet owner and everything, I think a lot of it starts with the first phone call, man. I think that, when you're working with brokers, I think that the ones that are vague, right? And I talk about this because I think this is the easiest way to sniff out scammers and bullshitters is, when you're coming out there, like you need to vet your brokers, because I've never gotten a load from a shipper where I didn't know the commodity. I didn't know the dimensions of the load or the piece count or the pallet count or the shipping address or the delivery address. I've never not had that when the BOL was sent over to me. So I think if people are vague with you in that, I wouldn't want to work with that broker. Just like when I'm speaking to a carrier, I know Josh, I'm not, so I feel confident that I can say this. If Josh and I were talking offline, if Josh wasn't able, or a trucking company wasn't able to provide driver information to me, even if they have multiple trucks, right? Like I've had companies say that, and they're like, yeah, I got 3 trucks in the area. And then I'm like, can you send me all 3 driver information? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. I have it right here. And I think again, I'm vibing people out, because to me, it's not posting a load, having the inbound call, and then it picks here, delivers here. This is what it weighs. This is what it pays. I don't fuck with that. I don't believe in that at all. I want to have an in-depth conversation, because I want to find out, why are you wanting this load, right? Like, do you run this lane often? Do you have a yard in that area? Do you have a consistent customer that gets you into, say, Memphis, Tennessee every single Thursday? And that's why this load works for you, because it gets you out, it gets you back up into your area. And, and then I want to find out, how many trucks do you have in your fleet? Like, what does this look like? Because to me, that's a very telltale sign on if a broker actually has consistent freight or not, is how in-depth their questions are that they're asking, or it also tells their give a fuck level on the freight that they're moving. Because I want to find carriers long-term, right? And I know that, kind of like with the previous question about building up that, is there a risk? I want to work with the same drivers time and time again. I have had an overwhelming response from the shippers that I work with, that they love the fact that the same trucking companies show up week in and week out for that, because otherwise, all that proves is that I can post loads for them, that I'm not really adding any value. So I think when it comes down to it, when I'm very niched down into the region, I know the lanes, I know the seasonality of the lanes. I want to come to you and, and again, this is an arbitrary number just for the conversation. But I want to talk to you and be like, hey, when it's in my market where, the broker's up, I can get away with paying this $800. What do you need? If you tell me $1,000 on the load, I'm going to say to you then, so when that market flips over the summer, for example, and you can get 14 on the open market, are you going to do this for $1,200? And then we play that again, these are arbitrary numbers. And then we come to that agreement, right? Where I'm overpaying you when I don't have to, and then you undercharge me when you don't have to, because then for me, it's having that up front, because if you're truly running, say, Memphis, Tennessee, up to Indianapolis, Indiana, every single week, the peaks and the valleys of this lane. And, this might take after you've done 3 or 4 shipments with me before we'll start really diving in deep on where we can get some consistent pricing in. But I think those are the conversations you need to have. And, when it comes the negotiation aspect of things right now, contrary to popular belief about what's out there on the internet about how, brokers are gouging. I know some are. I know there's always going to be a sector of this industry that are just shitbags, right? They don't fucking care. Okay. So let's not talk about them. Let's not focus on them at all. Let's focus on the people who are doing this right, because most brokers, I feel like for the most part, when it comes down to the pricing, no broker's making 30% on a fucking load. Not in this market. Not if you're hauling drive-in and reefer. No broker's making 30%, because someone will sniff it out real fucking quick. You guys, there's a lot more access to data and pricing out there than a lot of people can actually comprehend. And then they'll fucking undercut them, right? That's just where the market sits. I feel like for the most part, in this market on a drive-in load, you're lucky to make 10% on a load, especially on a high volume power lane like a fucking Atlanta to Chicago or something like that. And then same with reefers. People aren't making it as much as what's out there on social media. So I think that's also another good talking point is just shut social media off, except for the Freight Coach Morning Show. But a lot of the posts out there where people are saying that, there's all this gouging going on. There's always going to be gouging into some capacity, but it's not nearly as widespread as a lot of people think. So, all right. Alexis Bailey had a question. Since the logistics world is a 24/7 business, what are some of your top do's and don'ts when contacting shippers and prospects? My top don't is I don't call their personal cell phone. That drives me fucking nuts as a business owner myself. It's because it's always when I'm picking up my kid or something. It's never during that. And again, that's my personal cell phone number, right? I know that you can try and hide it as much as possible, but that's not for business, right? I feel like if you want to contact me, you can contact me via email, my desk line, any of that stuff. So I want to respect that, because I always try and put myself, if I was in my prospect shoes, how would I want to be communicated with in those moments? Another top don't is if they tell you they're good right now, but you can check back with them in a couple of months, don't fucking send them your customer setup packet ever. Don't do that. I think that's the most off-putting thing that you can do when they tell you, hey, we're good. And then because they're always like, oh, well, let me send it over because what if you need me in the meantime, right? It'd be good. No, it's not good. You're not listening to what they're saying in those moments. That's my top don't right there, because I think that's the most off-putting things. My top do is follow up. I don't think people follow up enough. I think that when they do get that, hey, we're good right now, they stop following up. There's a way that you can stay present in those moments. I think another top do is this is going to sound overly simple, but listen to what, especially what your carriers and your customers are saying. Because what I have found when I'm prospecting a shipper, for example, they will literally tell you how to prospect them. You just got to listen or read if it's via email. So don't be somebody to be a smart ass there, but listen to what they're saying. Listen to, especially when you're talking to them about onboarding with them, listen to how they want to operate. Because I think a major miss by a lot of people is that they think that customers will adhere to how the broker wants to do things. as opposed to how the customer needs things done, right? Like there's a very specific way, because again, I think a lot of it's going to boil down to inherent laziness, right? Like out of 5 shippers that I'm working with, all 5 of them have different requirements, right? It's not my job to tell them how I think they should have it done. I'll make suggestions to a point, but if a customer of mine says, I need it done this way, I need you to notify me when the driver is emptying an hour away, guess what? Come hell or high water, they're going to be notified when when the driver is emptying an hour away, not 30 minutes, not 45, not an hour and a half, 1 hour. Okay. So I think like a lot of that's like my top do is when you're talking to an individual, they will literally tell you everything that you need to know in those instances, Alexis. But it's tough, right? It's tough in those moments. It's always easier said than done, but that's what I would do for that. And then Alexis also said, what are some of your have-to-have items for an agent, a starter agent broker, as far as equipment, apps, tools? Shout out to Green Screens. You should check them out when it comes down to it, from pricing, help you win more lanes, read some freight markets and everything, which we'll get into. But no, I think I've built books of business off of an Excel spreadsheet in Google, right? And like lead generation software is great. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love it. I use seamless.ai. No, they are not a sponsor of my show. I would check them out. I utilize them for all my lead gen. But I still utilize Google to this day, though, because I want to make sure that, because again, lead gen is only as good as the information that's out there. And sometimes I feel like a quick Google search of a company just to make sure, because, like I specialize in open deck and heavy haul. Right. So I like some of the categories under the lead generation software is it's kind of broad, and I don't want to call and offer or email and offer something and obviously them not needed. I think that's like one of the worst things you can do. But I personally think that, it's not necessary when you're starting. Again, technology is great if you can afford it. But I think like obviously having a cell phone, I would do this. If you don't get a Gmail account for your business, right? Go out there, get a G Suite. It's $13 a month. Buy the web domain. So here's what I did in my business, and in all of my businesses, is I bought the web domain out there. I use GoDaddy personally. I bought the web domain. I went to G Suites and started a G Suites account. So then it's not freightcoach at gmail.com. It's Chris at freightcoach@thefreightcoach.com, right? And it looks a lot more professional from that instance. And when you're reaching out to people as well, I would do that. I think it's a low, it's a low investment, but it's a massive reward of doing that. And for the most part, though, all you need is a cell phone. You need an internet connection, Google, and an Excel spreadsheet, and you can get going with that. Like there's some great technology out there if you can afford it. Don't get me wrong, but that's really all you need, and you can start moving some freight. Otherwise, I'd look into joining the TIA. They're a phenomenal organization for all freight brokers out there. I do some coaching. Like that's really the only place that I'll do coaching anymore is I do the new broker success program with the TIA. But I would just look into that. I think that would get you a great start. And then Alexis, you tune in enough to know that I'm all about that niche, right? So start off with one freight type and then one a specific region. And I think just hammer those areas out. Own your backyard is what I would do. So let me see here. We got Tony. What's up, coach? She says, not Tony Darnell, other Tony. Bill Robinson, what is up? Good morning, sir. And then he also says, Kyle Littner just finished a creamsicle before 12. Fuck. Kyle Littner, it shows you as LinkedIn user on my stuff. What are you doing? All right. Sunny Sharma, what do I look for when hiring a salesperson? This is recently changed for me. I have, over the last couple of years, obviously, in starting my own businesses and stuff, I look at things a lot differently now. I look at it like this: like I don't care about industry experience, right? I personally think that I want to train green sales reps. Like if you want to come on right now, like I'm hiring commission only sales reps right now at my company. So if you're looking to take that leap and you want to get trained, freight, I'm trying to think of the best way. If you want to receive sales training from me, that's the only way that you're going to get it, is by coming on and working with my organization. Major plus if you're located in Minneapolis or Phoenix, where my offices are located. But because my whole thing, Sonny, is I can teach them anything, but I can't teach a work ethic. And that's the big thing that I look for. I want to work with individuals who have that drive. And I think it's very evident, right? Like, are they prepared when they came into the interview? Like Sonny is, works with Zem, he works for Zems Inc. His wife, I think he works for his wife, really, when it boils down to it. But shout out to Aaron. No, I think like, I want an individual who's just got that like eagerness to learn, and that they have that drive, right? And I think it's very evident in people. I don't always need the most high energy individuals coming in, because I know some people want that ex-athlete, style thing, because they want coachable individuals. I want people to be able to retain information, and then I want them to, like, to a point, be able to challenge the why inside of my organization. Why do you do things this way? And I want that, because, like, I don't believe in, someone hiring them based off of their GPA or answering, the perfect interview questions. I just want to get to know people, right? I want to get to know an individual on a personal basis, right? Like, how do they vibe? How do they present themselves? I'm a big stickler on that, which says a lot about wearing an orange polo every day. But did you come in ready to have a conversation, right? And I think that goes a long way. And it's a direct reflection on kind of how they're going to present themselves out there to your prospects and everything else, because anybody who you hire is a direct reflection of your organization at the end of the day. And I want people who love the industry, right? Like that's what I want. I want people who are like, I fucking love trucking, and or I fucking love freight brokerage. Those are the individuals that I want. High energy is always going to be a plus, but that work ethic and that drive, I think, is the only thing that I can't teach. And that's really what I look for the most. And then, I think that those individuals who are out there who do door-to-door sales right now, I mean, in Arizona, we get solar salesmen every single day coming up to our house damn near. But I think like those individuals, I love like if you're looking for like a work history thing as well, I think like former servers, like bartenders and servers, a lot of like they just got thick skin, right? Because they've dealt with drunk assholes, they've dealt with all of that shit. I think those are like really good candidates to come in and to work from that perspective. So that's kind of what I look for out there. Mainly my thing is it's just that drive. Do they have that drive? And I think, Sonny, you've talked to enough people, man. You can tell. Like, you can tell right away, does this person actually care, or are they just putting on a facade? You can't always tell, like, some people are going to slip between the cracks and everything, but that's my main thing. But I guess that's kind of it, unless anybody's got a final question they want to drop in. That's why I love these shows. These are my favorite shows to do. I love answering these questions. I don't know. At the end of the day, I just like helping people. I don't know the answers to fucking everything. I just know a lot of what not to do, especially in this industry, because all the shortcuts and everything, I've tried them all, and they've all fortunately blown up in my face, and it led me to where I am today with a lot of these things. But that's going to be it, you guys. And yeah, shout out to my sponsors, VHub, shout out to Green Screens. You guys, we're going to do some really special things here in this industry, and we're going to continue to do that. Brand new episode of the podcast did drop out there with my friend Chris Douglas. We talked about him taking his 20-year career in corporate transportation, and how he jumped over and started his freight agency out there, and the growth that he's experienced as a whole out there. That's available on iTunes and Spotify, just like the replay of this will be available on iTunes and Spotify here almost immediately after the show. For all those watching over on YouTube, as always, if you guys see value, subscribe and share the show. That's how we grow. That's how we are the top show in transportation, is because of each and every one of you who subscribe, share it, rank it, get it out there. But that's going to be it for today, you guys. We'll be back on Monday. We got a couple of guests slated for next week. And yeah, we're going to keep this freight train rolling. So that's going to be it, you guys. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.